Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot and welcome to today's reading. So, as we've been doing lately, we're just going to go ahead and jump into the flow and see what wants to come out today. So, what we saw yesterday, your person was kind of in this place of kind of having more information about themselves and they're maybe comfortable with, so they're able to see some of the impacts of their action. They just get these kind of moments of clarity, these pops where they can kind of see things a little more clearly for a bit. And frankly, they find it a little bit scary, but it's also the thing that causes them to consider writing that or hitting send on that note. So let's go ahead and jump back in. We're going to go ahead and do as usual. Like I was saying, it'll be a general reading for this collective, so it won't resonate with everybody, shouldn't resonate with everyone, but if it does resonate with you, then by all means think about subscribing or maybe checking out some of the other messages to see if there are other helpful things in there for you as well. So I think this is going to be my main deck, and I will use this to be my clarifier. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get in and look at today's energy. And it's really, this question is, it's what do we need to know about it? What do we need to know about today's energy, about the energy that's happening between the two of you, about that energetic and emotional backdrop. So we just had a new moon. I didn't do a specific reading for it because I did not feel it in that way. So I realized I was kind of in the habit of doing those. And then I was like, you know what, though? This isn't one where I feel like I've been feeling it for a long time. When I have been, then I think it makes sense to do a reading around it. But this one felt like such a continuation of things that were kind of already happening. So we have the Queen of Cups and the Two of Cups. It's a very loving sort of energy. It's loving, cuddling, sort of enveloping sort of energy. It's got a neat feel to it, but unfortunately there's still a little bit that's behind it of maybe just being defensive, I guess. It's defensiveness, but it's walls that I get the sense that both of you know that these walls are here. So you may be interacting with one another, or you may not be in that place yet. You may be, or you may not still be in that place. This has been a time of contact. We know that a lot has been changing for your person. On the inside, it's their values. On the outside, there are changes that are happening in the actual environment they live in. But communication, or that desire for that connection, has been kind of a very consistent thread woven throughout these recent readings. This is just, as I continue along the path, communication still comes in pretty heavily. There's a lot of love here that you would feel if you're in communication. So many of you are not in communication and can feel the vibe, but cannot have the conversation. Some of you can, and there's a little bit of still a sense of that vulnerability. We saw that where the feeling around communication has not changed, the feeling around vulnerability has kind of ebbed and flowed a little bit. We had a period in there where it felt like they had the capacity to be just very vulnerable with you, and a lot could come out. We have the Strength card here, which means a greater potential for vulnerability in this context. We have the Knight of Swords too. So this is a card of, I want to say it's spying energy, but it doesn't have, it's like studying up kind of energy more than the kind where you spy for just the sake of seeing someone. It's like they're practicing to know what they're going to say if they have a conversation with you. So they feel like they need to know a few things. And that's not necessarily going to be everybody, but there are some of you where they have not been as interactive on social media. But you'll see, if you have the opportunity, if you're able to see who sees the things that you're putting out there, depending on what you're using, you'll see their name pop up a little more. May not see responses. So with the Eight of Cups here, this is why you may not see responses. This is kind of a buckle down sort of energy, and I feel like it's very positive, because even though it may mean a little bit more silence, honestly, it also means, development. This is exactly what it means. So your person was And maybe you too, to a certain extent, they were hit with something that they were not expecting when they had that soul connection with you, when they recognized that soul connection with you. And there is a moment, maybe a couple moments in there that you would probably be able to point to say, this is where you know it happened. This is where you saw them realize it on some level. But they are more, they're a little surprised by how impressed they are with you, with how there's something that they did not expect to be intimidated by, but they are. Like, there's a feeling of intimidation in here, but there's also with this Two of Wands, and this is really more both of you, where that Four of Cups feels like it's more their energy. This Two of Wands is about finding something that you're looking for. It may require going on a bit of a trip. However, this does not always mean travel necessarily. Sometimes it's going to be about emotional distance that gets traveled. And I think for some of you that will be the case. There's a lot of development, a lot of alignment of values, trying to figure out how you're going to align values. And that's true for both of you. So I feel like that's really, that Two of Wands is heavy in both of your energy. You know, I mean, this is a person who is drawn your way to learn lessons as much as you are drawn their way to learn them as well. But it's not coming out the same way. The Tower experience that you guys have both we've been hearing about it, where the Tower card comes up and there's a emotionally tumultuous situation that's happening there. Something that changes and is never the same again. That sort of energy. I recently did a post about it, probably said exactly those two things, because that's what I think of when I think of this Tower for you guys. But it's impacting you very differently. We have the Knight of Wands here in the reverse. So now we have the Knight of Swords and the Knight of Wands in reverse, which those are not great aspects of those knights. So you may see more of that kind of in and out behavior, less vulnerability. They have the capacity to be somewhat vulnerable. We saw that with the Strength card, but we also see that it is limited, and they have a lot of fear that once it starts to kind of scare up, it seems like it's very difficult for them to quell it again. But they do go into it super strong. You may be feeling that too, where you're walking into some situations that might scare you. Certainly over the past few days. I mean, I don't want to, this feels like energy that kind of is already happening. So I don't want to put a timeline on it, but it feels like maybe you've been walking into some things over these last few days that kind of would be enough to scare you, and you don't have control over everything. That's the thing about this. Both of you are experiencing that. You not having control over everything. But the fact is, like, you figure out you don't need it. You are rolling with the way things happen across the course of these few days. And I feel like that is something that is likely to continue, although the pressure may be off in some places, like you already did the thing you have to do, whatever it is. I mean, I feel like there's a little bit of that, and I feel like it's residual. You're still calming down, maybe still a little bit of a recovery energy in this, but a very valiant ability to do that. Like, and that's more on your side. So on their side, I'm not saying they don't have all of that energy, but they also have they feel a little bit more restricted by I think that's the right thing. They're more restricted by the things that they're not capable of. So both of you are in a place where you don't control everything, but you're okay with it and able to roll with it in a way that they are not. So I would just say that. Hopefully that's helpful. Let's get into what else we need to know and kind of where things are headed for them. So this is a person who there's been a lot going on. Like I said, a lot has been changing for them, not just in their values, like in the inside, where we even see that over here, but in their life, in their environment. They don't think of whatever makes up that third party energy for them, whether it's work or family or a significant other or any combination thereof, you know, whether it's a serious significant other or not, anything that is impacting the energy of your relationship. Something in there is shifting, and honestly, it's because your person is changing, but it means changes in all of these other places. And so the shifting, what feels like to them to be a shift in the environment, has really kind of got them feeling a little off balance. Okay, so let's look into what, I mean, I guess let's just let the messages come out, because I have had so many questions come up over the last few hours from you guys. I get a lot of messages. I get a lot of messages from you. So understand, please, 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 that I cannot respond to them. I respond every once in a while, like to as many as I can, but for the most part, it's not something that I can reasonably do. However, I have been able to keep up with, kind of keep up. I have been able to keep up with reading them. So I'm pretty much caught up now. I definitely have some things I need to work into readings, but I also feel like with the way the questions came in just over the last day, I want to be as broad. Oh, we're supposed to use that card. What is that? King of Pentacles. I wanted to keep it pretty broad. Okay, so there is, there's that charisma again with the King of Pentacles, though. Interesting. So Four of Pentacles in the reverse. This person is shift. This is shift. This is a shift in the way that they're feeling about something. They are letting something go. The Four of Pentacles in the reverse says they are letting something go. The King of Pentacles in the upright says they feel like vindicated in some way. There's something about them. This is about the third party. They feel vindicated in some way, and they are, like I was just saying with that, it's all wrapped up in the Tower energy for them, which is not as pleasant maybe as the way that it has the potential to play out for you. You've got other soulmates coming in, hobbies, opportunities. There's their change in the in lifestyle. So a lot of times when the Ten of Pentacles comes out here lately, I whether it's a personal reading or one of these, I often think, regardless of whether it comes out in the upright or in the reverse, it's got its own sort of feeling. And in this case, it definitely has its own sort of feeling. With it coming out in the upright, I'm like, oh, so it's positive, right? And because the Ten of Pentacles, a lot of times, the way that I read the Ten of Pentacles, when it's upright, it's often very positive, versus when it's in the reverse. Sometimes it's a little bit tougher, or I read this as neutral as they come. I don't think it's bad, but I do think it's a lot of change. And whatever your person is letting go of, like, it's a long time coming. This has got Three of Wands energy all over it, but it could be Three of Wands in the reverse, in that way that it sometimes comes out where it feels like okay, so they did set it into motion, but they don't realize that they did. It's that kind of thing. But they have, they've crested some kind of hill. Ooh, and they're not in a hurry about it. Okay, so here is someone who has figured out the value of what they're doing, but they're kind of still sitting there evaluating overall the whole situation. There's a lot of swords energy in that. So that it's Queen of Swords for sure. And swords is about thinking, but the rest of this is all Pentacles energy, and it's very concrete. This is what's happening in life. You know, here's more of that concrete. You are learning something, walking through a new door, but not being in a hurry about it, and kind of having a tendency to keep quiet about it. Definitely not wanting to repeat the mistakes of the past. So let me slow that down a little bit. We have that. Sometimes I get on this roll and it's just sort of, it all ends up really going together. Well, so the Page of Coins is about the lesson. Okay, so they are, one of the things that I will say about this Page of Coins is there is a propensity for learning that is not always matched by an enthusiasm. Okay, at this point, it's a little bit more matched by enthusiasm. When you run across this person, they may well seem more mature to you and like they've gone through some of the healing and the change that we see suggested in this, even this King of Pentacles. The only thing about this King of Pentacles is that it's not just a deserving King of Pentacles. There's a feeling of, I don't know, it's almost got like King of Cups and King of Fire Wands associated with it. There's a feeling of, I should just be able to go in and do this, but yet there's a lot of change that creates moving, moving earth under your feet. With the Ace of Coins, that is walking through a new door. So this is significant because a lot of times what we've seen is they have a hard time, your person has a hard time walking through doors, and whatever has happened here, whatever they've let go of, has caused them to reevaluate that, or maybe not reevaluate it so much as confront it. and they're now in a place where they're a different person. So when they see a door, there is a greater potential they can walk through it, which is significant for you because ideally, if you're following the advice that often comes up here, you've got a door to yourself emotionally. You've been leaving open and you're waiting. You're not waiting. You're not watching or waiting to see who walks through. You're leaving it open, but you're focused in other areas. And here's a person, that's a good thing, because even though it does seem like they have that greater propensity to walk through a doorway at this point, they aren't in a hurry about it. They're feeling kind of quiet about it, and they don't want to repeat previous mistakes. We know from previous readings, they felt like they've definitely made some mistakes with you. So there is some shame, I guess, has been popping up in the readings here lately about it. So we've got the Two of Cups. You're heavy on their mind. That's been coming out to mean that a lot. You're heavy on their mind. They're maybe in a self-destructive sort of mood, so you might have to watch out a little bit. But they're eager to show you how much they've grown. This is interesting. I'm just going to set the cards like this because I feel like that's just how they want to go. But so they feel like they want to show you how far they've come. And they are thinking about you a lot. So there has been that's another one of those things that ebbs and flows. And what I would say is here, they think about you an awful lot. And it's just something that they haven't given up trying to figure out how to control that yet. So there's still a little bit also with all of the change that's happening. They're being thrown into a little bit of an imbalance that is causing them to do some self-destructive things. We definitely see destruction of relationships and not having as good of a time with the third party energy. So if this is their job, they're not enjoying it as much. If this is their marriage or relationship with their aunt, and I'm talking about really specific things that for sure you guys have emailed me about or IM'd me about. And those are the things that something isn't going well there. And in some cases, we know there are multiple people, as we've heard. Well, my person has a third, fourth, and fifth party. And yes, absolutely, there can be more than one of those outside energies that are influential. And this could be a change in one or all of those, any of them. There's a change in your person, which is likely to create a global change for them. So that means that all of the aspects of their life, they're probably going to see some change. Change with these third-party energies is no surprise. With the Five of Coins here in the reverse, what's cool about this and what's very disarming, they're so charismatic. I felt that up here. That was a little bit of that King of Cups. They're incredibly disarming and charismatic, and part of it is because they're able to get a little bit vulnerable and tell you what it is that they've learned. They don't necessarily, a lot of them have been doing it, some of them haven't. So I'm not going to say, hey, they come out and they're like out with everything, but this is a moment where they have done some consideration. It's something that they actually have done some consideration of, and so it's not off the cuff. It's not as off the cuff as it seems. Some of them are out there practicing speeches, but most of them are simply, they've thought about it so much and it's been coming up so much, they have not been able to banish the thoughts. So they really, this is all a very big global change. I think that maybe that's what we want to look into, is some of the changes for them, and just what is this, like that feeling of charisma that just oozes out of everything. It's like they feel like they're there almost. There's so much presence. There's an incredible amount of presence in your person right now. Like you can feel them in the room when they are thinking about you, kind of presence. When you walk into a room that they are in and you don't even know they're in it, you're going to feel it. It's that kind of presence. So let's look a little bit more into the changes that are happening and see what wants to come out as far as the impact of that extreme presence that they have. We'll look at that when we get into the extended, but first let's do the piece that is about you. So this is the part about you. This is the most important thing that happens in the reading for some of you. This is taking everything into consideration that we've got here. What is it? And it's always the same question. So I feel like I almost don't even need to ask because the universe knows exactly where I'm headed. But for the benefit of those of you who have maybe not been here so long, this is the part where I ask about, like, what is it that you need to focus on given what we have here on the table? And often that's how I phrase it, because that's really it. You've got so many things that are going on. Page of Cups. Okay. There is something where I feel like there are several of you who are going to be drawn to reach out to your person. I think it was yesterday's reading, or maybe it was the day before. It was recent. Somewhere in there we saw, hey, you could reach out to your person. Like, it's not going to be overly detrimental, but it's not going to be a great idea. It's better to wait for them to be pushed in your direction, because otherwise they're going to be pushed away by hearing from you, or they will feel a little bit more closed in their response if you reach out to them first. This Page of Cups kind of feels like evaluate very carefully what you say before you say it. So there are some of you you have children together and you can't simply choose not to communicate, or you have something in your life, you work together, whatever it is, that you cannot simply choose not to communicate, but you can be selective about what you say and where, especially because of the way that the energy is drawing the two of you together. There is a tendency toward conflict in you. It might come out as my favorite phrase for this is free floating rage. Feels like puberty or menopause, depending on where you're at. But I mean, it's the same sort, or pregnancy, if you want to, especially that part where things really get rocking and rolling and all of a sudden you aren't yourself. That's always fun. Actually, I did think that was a lot of fun. But it's not necessarily an easy place to hold a civilized conversation sometimes. And the thing about it is, you are past puberty. Like almost everybody that listens to this channel is an adult. And the thing is, and that's who it's made for, but this is a struggle sort of feeling that will remind you of puberty, but much like pregnancy that takes place after puberty, you've already been on this ride and you know how not to act. So there's going to be some element of that. I feel like that is going to crop up for you. Some level of irritation and struggle that feels like it's like, this is more than it needs to be, that sort of thing. You will be having invitations that you have a need to turn down, or conflicting plans. Now, if you're like me and you have a corporate job in the daytime, that's a way of life. And like, that doesn't surprise you. But when it happens on your own time, that's where it starts to, and that's the feeling that I have here. This isn't you got double booked at work or triple booked, or you're double or triple booked all day like I am. It could be more like there's something here that it's going to be something that happens outside of working hours, and it's going to be something that you have more of an emotional attachment to, an emotional response to, and this is the missed opportunity that results from this. So it's going to feel like a lot. Partially because of this level of this struggle sort of energy. It has a tendency to be a negative struggle. It doesn't have to be. But there's also this feeling of like you're forgetting something, that feeling of I'm just not sure if I have to look down to make sure I wore clothes that match today and things like, that's not maybe an everyday occurrence for some of you. And there are going to be days where you just don't feel quite organized, it's maybe not as organized as usual, because there are differing levels of it. So we've got the 8 of Wands. Things feel like they're moving a little bit quickly. Just kind of hang on tight. There's no rush for most of your decisions. Again, still, even though you're going to see this energy that moves more quickly, part of it's urgency energy that's coming from your person, because remember, your person is not only drawn to you because of their desire, but also by the way you make them feel so much better about those ancient pains that they are essentially confronting and trying to work through when they're with you, And so the thing is that also brings them a lot of struggle. That brings them a lot of challenge, but they keep being brought back in your direction, and they feel like this urgency to have to get things done. It's an urgency to make changes in their values, though, and this is something that takes time. You feel like home to them, though, I will say that. So we've got the 2 of Cups, which feels a lot like the 4 of Wands. So the 4 of Wands is about a lack of stability. The 2 of Coins is having a hard time balancing. So this is like a great time for a day off. is what this feels like to me. This is a great time to just say, okay, I'm going to reset. Yeah, you're not feeling emotionally up to things, and it frustrates you that you're not feeling emotionally up to speed. Like you're not emotionally ready to handle the things that are happening and that are coming your way. Very frustrating energy. But I feel like I keep feeling the thing in there about you don't need to rush. There's nothing for you to do but just work through this like you do every other day. Hang on just a second. Let's see. I dropped a card, but it fell face down. Yeah, it's work through it just like you work through every other day kind of vibe, you know? It's going to be a pain maybe, but you're going to do really well. But what I get here is not just you do really well, but you learn something. So, again, with this energy of you're not going to be doing something. There's something that you choose not to do, and you're going to just know that it's not the right thing to do. With the High Priestess, the Fool in reverse is you choosing not to go in a direction, choosing to deal with. You have to make a choice essentially when you have this conflict that reminds me of like the feeling of a scheduling conflict, but that happens on your time and that feels like a missed opportunity. Use that spiritual guidance that comes to you to figure out like where you should be. If it's physical places, to figure out like how you should be handling this. We also have the Six of Wands and the Empress, which says this is, okay, so what it says to me is this is going to end well, but it's an opportunity for growth. Usually when I hear an opportunity for growth, I realize, and that's that Empress piece, you end up in a much better place, but it's not necessarily enjoyable all the way to getting there. It's, I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't feel like it's an especially bad situation. It just feels like it takes a little bit, it feels like uncoordinated. It feels like you're being rushed. You feel like you're being rushed, but there's actually no reason to rush. And so look for that as part of are you just used to rushing when you get to that energy? Ask yourself if you are just used to going that fast. Okay, so we have the Temperance. This is a warning or a heads up, and it's not a warning like something bad is going to happen. What it is you will have a longer path if you are unable to take that vacation day. That's basically what this is. Interesting. Yeah, you're going to need to take a little bit of time or vacation or something that basically amounts to a moment to yourself. It feels like a missed opportunity. There's some kind of conflict that you have to work through, but there's not really a rush to make a decision. There's something somewhere where you're able to get by without making much of a decision. I feel like there's that. This is interesting energy for you. So this is maybe not a great time for your person to reach out to you. And it's being said here also that it's not such a great time for you to reach out to them. But we now see that for a couple of reasons. It's not great on their side because it will maybe cause them to be pushed away a little bit or to run away or to be more closed. Not that they won't respond, and maybe they won't, but I mean, maybe they won't be as forthcoming. So also though, because of this energy, you're being recommended to kind of hold on the communication. Over here though, the energy that's happening for your person, like they have a lot that is happening right here. And in particular, they have change that is going on with this third party that is really causing a significant shift for them. A lot of change. It feels incredibly neutral. There's a lot of potential, could go either way. So again, we're going to look into that. We'll look into that change, and we're going to just kind of look into them and that feeling of that extreme charisma that's going on there. So that's what we'll do when we get into the extended. I look forward to seeing you there. If you are interested, the link is down below. Otherwise, I will see you in tomorrow's reading.